There are moments in life when you don't need advice. You don't need answers. You don't need someone trying to fix you. Sometimes, all you need is the quiet reassurance that you are not alone in what you're carrying. So if you're here right now, listening to these words while something heavy sits silently in your chest, then this message is for you. Not to rush you, not to push you forward, not to tell you to be stronger, but simply to sit beside you for a moment. Because healing doesn't always begin with solutions. It doesn't always arrive through motivation or sudden breakthroughs. Sometimes healing begins with something much simpler. The realization that someone, somewhere, understands the weight you've been carrying. And there is a truth the universe may be trying to remind you of right now. A truth that is easy to forget when life becomes overwhelming. You have never been forgotten, and you have never been unprotected. Not even in the moments that hurt the most. Not even during the nights when the silence felt louder than your prayers. If you've ever felt like you've been fighting your battles alone, keep listening, because what you're about to hear might change how you see this season of your life. You've been living in a world that often asks too much from the human heart. A world where pain can feel deeply personal, where loss sometimes feels unfair, where waiting can stretch so long that hope begins to feel fragile. The truth is, the human experience is not an easy one. It may actually be one of the most difficult journeys a soul can take. And I know there have been seasons where you did everything you were supposed to do. You tried to stay hopeful. You tried to stay faithful. You tried to stay strong. You kept showing up, even when you were exhausted. And still, things fell apart. Doors closed. Plans unraveled. People drifted away in ways you never expected. And in the quiet moments, when nobody else could hear your thoughts, a question slowly appeared in your mind. You wondered, is anyone actually listening? Is God listening? Is the universe paying attention? Or are my prayers simply disappearing into silence? If you've had thoughts like that, please understand something important. Those thoughts don't make you weak. They make you human. Because the human experience is not always gentle. Sometimes life stretches us. Sometimes it bends us. And sometimes it breaks us open in ways we never imagined possible. Life also has a strange way of repeating lessons again and again until they settle deep inside who we are becoming. There were cycles you never asked for, losses you never saw coming, moments where everything changed before you had time to prepare. And along the way, certain versions of you didn't survive the journey. Old dreams, old identities, old expectations about how life was supposed to unfold. Parts of you quietly faded away, and you had to grieve those versions of yourself while still waking up every morning and continuing with life. That kind of exhaustion doesn't come from laziness. It comes from endurance, from surviving, from continuing to move forward even when your spirit feels worn down. And here is something that people rarely say, but it's deeply true. There are seasons where life allows you to feel the weight, not because you are being punished, not because you are being abandoned, but because something inside you is being refined. The difficult nights you survived were not meaningless. They were crossings, sacred crossings, moments where the soul walks through silence, so it can begin hearing something deeper than noise. Moments where the familiar falls apart, so you can slowly release what was never meant to stay. And that hollow feeling you carried for so long, it wasn't emptiness. It was space being created, space for a new version of your life to eventually grow. You didn't lose your way. You were being gently redirected, because divine care doesn't always appear in comfortable forms. Sometimes it shows up as removal. Sometimes it looks like closed doors, like distance between people, like plans dissolving right in front of you. But many of those moments were not meant to harm you. They were meant to protect you, to keep you from staying in places where your spirit was slowly shrinking. There are certain burdens the universe will not allow you to carry forever. Pain has an expiration date, even when it feels endless. And what you've been moving through recently, the confusion, the heaviness, the strange sense that something old is ending, that may not be abandonment, it might actually be intervention. Because there is a truth that changes everything once you truly accept it. You are being taken care of, even when you cannot feel it, not only in the outcomes you hoped for, but also in the outcomes you still don't understand, not only in the blessings you recognize today, but also in the protection you will only recognize later. Some of life's greatest mercy arrives disguised as delay, and some of the deepest love arrives disguised as loss. And one day, maybe months from now, maybe years, you will look back at this exact season of your life, and suddenly, it will make sense. You will see how gently you were guided away from something that would have eventually taken your peace. Because the universe doesn't rush souls that are evolving. It prepares them. And preparation can feel incredibly lonely. Sometimes growth requires isolation, not because you're being pushed away from others, but because you are being pulled closer to your own truth. When the noise fades, when distractions disappear, when life slows down in ways you didn't plan, that is often when alignment begins. Quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, but in a way that slowly changes everything. And that process teaches a powerful lesson. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender means releasing what was never yours to control. It means letting go of the belief that you must carry everything alone just to prove your worth. You don't have to fight so hard anymore. What is truly meant for you will not require constant force. What is real will not drain your soul. And what is aligned with you will not demand endless suffering as proof. Life has a rhythm that the mind cannot always understand, but the soul recognizes it immediately. And right now, even if it doesn't feel like it, you are inside that rhythm. Even on days when faith feels thin, even on nights when fear feels louder than hope, you are still being guided. There is care hidden inside your delays. There is love hidden inside certain endings. And there is protection inside the things that did not work out. And the most beautiful part of all, you don't have to earn this care. You don't have to be perfect to receive it. You don't even have to fully understand it. All you need to do right now is soften instead of resist. Stop fighting the timing of everything. Allow yourself to rest inside the quiet possibility that something greater than your fear is already working behind the scenes of your life. Because abundance rarely arrives when we chase it in exhaustion. It arrives when we align with truth, when we stop betraying ourselves just to maintain comfort, when we stop forcing chapters that are already closing, when we choose honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. The universe responds to authenticity, to sincerity, to the quiet courage of staying true to yourself. And if you have been choosing truth, even when it hurt, then you are closer than you realize. This isn't the end of your struggle because you suddenly did everything perfectly. It is the beginning of relief because you are ready to receive life in a different way. You were never meant to suffer forever. You were meant to grow. And beyond this chapter, beyond this season of lessons, there is peace. There is restoration. There is a kind of care that does not exhaust you, a kind of love that does not demand endurance. And you are being guided toward it, step by step, breath by breath, even now. So before you leave, I want you to do something simple but meaningful. Write this in the comments as your declaration. I surrender my worries. Write it slowly. Let the words settle. Let them become a quiet promise you make to yourself. And if something in these words touched a quiet place inside you today, if even one sentence felt like it understood what you've been carrying, then consider sharing this message with someone else. Someone who may not say it out loud. Someone who still smiles when people ask how they're doing. Someone who appears strong on the outside, but is quietly holding more than anyone realizes. Because there are people around us every day who are silently carrying far too much. People who show up to work. People who answer messages. People who keep going through their routines. But inside, they're tired. Tired of holding everything together. Tired of pretending they're okay. Tired of feeling like no one truly sees what they're going through. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone isn't advice, and it isn't a solution. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give another human being is simply a reminder that they are not alone in this world, that someone else understands what it feels like to struggle quietly, that someone else has stood in the same uncertain place they are standing now. and found a way to keep going. And maybe right now, somewhere in your life, there is someone who needs to hear exactly that. Someone who needs to remember they are not forgotten, that their pain has not gone unseen, that their effort, their endurance, their quiet strength actually matters. There are people walking through life right now who feel invisible, people who believe their struggles are too small to talk about or too complicated to explain, people who have convinced themselves that they simply have to carry everything alone. But sometimes one message, one moment of understanding can change the entire weight someone is feeling inside. Sometimes a few simple words can remind a person that hope still exists, even when life feels heavy, that care still exists, even when it arrives quietly, because care does not always show up loudly. It doesn't always arrive through dramatic moments or perfect solutions. Sometimes care shows up in the simplest forms: a message shared, a sentence that feels understood, a reminder that someone out there is thinking of them. And that is why sharing something like this matters more than we realize. Because sometimes the universe speaks through ordinary people, in ordinary moments, to deliver exactly the reassurance someone else has been praying for. Sometimes the message someone needs doesn't arrive through grand signs. It arrives through a voice, through a sentence, through a video they almost didn't click on, through a message a friend decided to share. And in that moment, something inside them softens. They breathe a little deeper. They realize they are not as alone as they thought. So, if these words reached you today, let them reach someone else too. Let them travel beyond this moment. Because today, without even realizing it, you might be part of something meaningful. You might be the reminder someone needed to keep going. You might be the small light that shows up in the middle of someone else's difficult day. And sometimes, that is exactly how the universe works. Through simple acts, through quiet kindness, through people who choose to pass hope forward. So if your heart feels moved even a little, share this message, because somewhere, someone is waiting for reassurance. And today, you might be the person who helps them find it.